Imagine waking up one morning to a news headline that shakes the entire world. Earth is on a collision course with Mars. This might sound like something straight out of a science fiction movie, but could such a cosmic event actually happen? What would it mean for our planet if Earth and Mars were to collide? How catastrophic would the impact be? These aren't just questions for scientists to ponder. They could affect every single one of us. For centuries, humanity has looked up at the night sky and wondered about our place in the cosmos. We've sent probes to distant planets, landed humans on the moon, and marveled at galaxies far beyond our own. Yet, despite all our achievements, the universe remains a place of great mystery and potential danger. One of the most frightening possibilities is a planetary collision, a scenario where two celestial bodies, like Earth and Mars, collide with devastating consequences. But how realistic is this scenario? Could Earth and Mars really be on a collision course? To answer these questions, we need to delve into the science of planetary orbits and gravitational forces. Planets, including Earth and Mars, orbit the Sun in stable, predictable paths. These orbits are the result of a delicate balance between the Sun's gravitational pull and the planet's momentum. But what if something disrupted this balance? What if a massive asteroid, a rogue planet, or even a passing star nudged Mars off its orbit, sending it on a collision course with Earth? While this might seem far-fetched, the universe is full of surprises. In fact, the early solar system was a chaotic place where collisions between planets and other celestial bodies were relatively common. Scientists believe our moon was formed from the debris of a colossal impact between the early Earth and a Mars-sized object. This shows that planetary collisions aren't just the stuff of science fiction. They've happened before, and they could happen again. If Earth and Mars were on a collision course, what would happen? Would there be any warning signs? And if so, how much time would we have to prepare for such an unimaginable event? As we continue, we'll explore the potential causes of such a collision, the catastrophic impact it would have, and whether anything could survive the aftermath. But for now, let's consider this. While the likelihood of Earth colliding with Mars is incredibly low, it's not impossible. And the mere possibility is enough to remind us of just how fragile our existence is in the vast, unpredictable universe. As we journey through this scenario, remember, we're not just observers of the cosmos, we're participants in a much larger cosmic drama. Our fate is tied to the movements of planets, stars, and galaxies, and we must remain vigilant, curious, and prepared for whatever the universe might throw our way. So how could something as massive as a planet be knocked off its orbit and sent hurtling toward Earth? To understand this, we need to dive into the science of planetary motion and the forces that keep our solar system in balance. Every planet in our solar system, including Earth and Mars, follows a specific path around the Sun. These paths, or orbits, are stable because of a delicate balance between the planet's momentum, which tries to carry it in a straight line, and the gravitational pull of the Sun, which pulls it inward. But what if this balance was disrupted? It's not as far-fetched as it sounds. In the early days of the solar system, chaotic interactions between newly formed planets and leftover debris often led to massive collisions. One of the most famous examples is the giant impact hypothesis, which suggests that the moon was created from debris after a Mars-sized body collided with the early Earth. While today's solar system is much more stable, it's not immune to external influences. For example, a rogue planet, an object that's been ejected from another star system, could pass close enough to our solar system to disturb the orbits of planets like Mars. Or a massive asteroid could collide with Mars, altering its orbit just enough to put it on a collision course with Earth. If something like this were to happen, the first signs would be subtle. Astronomers would notice that Mars's orbit was slightly off, perhaps moving a bit closer to Earth with each pass. As the planets drew closer together, the effects would become more pronounced. Mars would appear larger in the night sky, and the gravitational pull between the two planets would start to affect Earth's tides and possibly even trigger seismic activity. The closer Mars got, the more alarming the situation would become. At some point, it would become clear that a collision was inevitable. But how much time would we have? In space, distances are vast, but so are the speeds at which objects move. Depending on how far Mars had been pushed from its original orbit, we might have years, decades, or even centuries to prepare. But preparation for such a cataclysmic event would be a monumental challenge. Could we develop the technology to alter the orbit of an entire planet? Or would we have to find a way to evacuate Earth entirely? These are questions that push the boundaries of our current understanding and capabilities. Yet they are worth considering because the universe is full of surprises. And while a planetary collision might seem like the stuff of science fiction, history shows us that the cosmos is full of unpredictable events. So what if the unthinkable happened? Would we be ready? Or would we be at the mercy of forces far beyond our control? Now that we've explored how a collision between Earth and Mars could happen, let's dive into what the impact itself would look like. When two planets collide, the energy released would be beyond anything we can imagine. The force would be equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs going off at once. But what does this mean for Earth? Would it shatter into pieces? Or would something even more unimaginable occur? If Earth and Mars were to collide, the impact would occur at an incredibly high velocity, tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. The sheer speed and mass of the planets would result in a catastrophic explosion, releasing a massive amount of heat and energy. The surface of both planets would be instantly vaporized. Mountains would be flattened, oceans would boil away, and the atmosphere would be stripped off into space. The shock wave from the collision would be so powerful that it would ripple through the entire planet, causing earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis on a global scale. But the destruction wouldn't stop there. The collision would likely send debris from both planets into space, creating a cloud of dust and rocks that would rain down on Earth, further devastating the planet's surface. This debris cloud could also form a ring around Earth, similar to the rings of Saturn, but this would be of little comfort in the face of such total destruction. One of the biggest questions is whether Earth would survive at all. Depending on the angle and speed of the impact, Earth could be completely shattered, breaking apart into smaller pieces that would drift through space. Alternatively, the collision could create a new, larger planet made up of the remnants of both Earth and Mars. But even in this scenario, the new planet would be a barren, lifeless rock. The collision would also have profound effects on the rest of the solar system. The gravitational shock waves from such a massive event could destabilize the orbits of other planets, potentially leading to further collisions or even the ejection of planets from the solar system. The sun's gravitational pull might also be affected, causing it to wobble slightly, which could have unknown consequences for the entire system. For any life on Earth, the outcome would be grim. Even if some life forms managed to survive the initial impact, the conditions on the newly formed planet would be hostile to life as we know it. The surface would be a wasteland of molten rock, with no atmosphere, no water, and no protection from the harsh radiation of space. In short, the impact of such a collision would be nothing short of apocalyptic. It would mark the end of Earth as we know it, and possibly the end of all life on our planet. This scenario, while terrifying, serves as a reminder of the unpredictable and often violent nature of the universe we live in. And as we continue to explore space, it's crucial that we remain aware of these potential dangers and work to better understand the forces that shape our cosmos. Assuming any form of life could survive the initial impact, what would the world look like afterward? The chances of survival are incredibly slim, but let's explore the possibilities. After the collision, Earth, or what remains of it, would be a drastically different place. The surface would be completely unrecognizable. Instead of the familiar landscapes of mountains, oceans, and forests, there would be a barren wasteland of molten rock and scattered debris. The atmosphere, if it still exists at all, would be toxic and filled with ash, dust, and gases released from the impact. This cloud of debris would block out sunlight, plunging the planet into a prolonged period of darkness. Without sunlight, temperatures would plummet, creating a nuclear winter scenario where the surface becomes too cold to support life. Any remaining water would likely be locked in ice or evaporated into the atmosphere. The climate would be in chaos with extreme temperatures, unpredictable weather patterns, and constant volcanic activity. But let's consider the slim possibility that some life might survive. Deep underground or in the deepest parts of the oceans, extremophiles, organisms that thrive in extreme environments, might find a way to endure. These tiny, resilient creatures have been known to survive in the most inhospitable places on Earth, from the superheated vents on the ocean floor to the frozen tundras of Antarctica. However, for humanity, survival would be a monumental challenge. If any humans managed to survive the initial impact, they would face an incredibly harsh new reality. Basic necessities like food, water, and shelter would be scarce, and the environment would be too hostile for traditional agriculture or livestock. Survivors might need to live in underground bunkers, relying on stored food and water, and using advanced technology to create breathable air. Rebuilding civilization would be a daunting task. Without a stable environment, it would be nearly impossible to establish long-term communities or rebuild infrastructure. Communication would be difficult, if not impossible, and any surviving technology would eventually degrade without the ability to maintain or replace it. In such a world, humanity might regress to a primitive state, struggling to survive day by day in a hostile environment. The knowledge and advancements of modern civilization could be lost, and the survivors would have to start from scratch, possibly over generations, to rebuild. But would there be any hope for a future? Given enough time, perhaps millions or billions of years, the planet might stabilize. The atmosphere could clear, temperatures could normalize, and life might find a way to return. But this would be a long, slow process, and there's no guarantee that life as we know it would ever reemerge. The survivors of the collision, if any, would be left to navigate a world that is fundamentally different from the one we know. It would be a world where the rules of survival have changed, where every day is a fight against the elements, and where the future of humanity is uncertain. In this bleak scenario, the question becomes not just whether we could survive, but whether we could find a way to thrive in the aftermath of such a cataclysmic event. As we reach the end of this journey through a terrifying hypothetical scenario, it's time to reflect on the gravity of what we've explored. The idea of Earth colliding with Mars is both fascinating and horrifying. It serves as a stark reminder of how small and fragile our existence is within the vast expanse of the cosmos. While the chances of such a catastrophic event happening are incredibly low, they aren't zero, and that alone is enough to give us pause. We live in a universe governed by forces far beyond our control, where even the most stable systems can be disrupted by an unexpected event. It's easy to feel a sense of security here on Earth, under the protective shield of our atmosphere, with our daily lives seemingly untouched by the chaos of space. But the reality is that our planet is just one tiny part of a much larger, unpredictable system. So, what can we do to protect ourselves from these cosmic threats? The answer isn't simple. We must continue to advance our understanding of space, improve our technology, and be vigilant in monitoring the skies. Our ability to detect and track potential dangers, like asteroids or rogue planets, is crucial. And while we may not be able to prevent every disaster, we can at least be prepared. Beyond the immediate threat, this scenario also encourages us to think about our long-term survival as a species. What would we do if faced with a cosmic event that threatened to wipe out life on Earth? Would we have the means to escape, to colonize other planets, or to somehow deflect the threat? These questions push the boundaries of our current capabilities, but they are worth asking. They remind us that our survival may ultimately depend on our ability to adapt, to innovate, and to think beyond our planet. In the end, this thought experiment about Earth colliding with Mars is more than just a doomsday scenario. It's a call to action, a reminder that while we can't control the universe, we can control how we respond to its challenges. By staying curious, pushing the limits of our knowledge, and preparing for the unexpected, we can ensure that we are ready for whatever the cosmos might throw our way. And perhaps, just as importantly, it reminds us to cherish the stability and beauty of our world, to not take for granted the delicate balance that allows life to thrive here. Because while the universe is full of wonders, it is also full of dangers. And understanding this duality is key to our future survival. So as we wrap up, remember, the universe is vast, mysterious, and often unpredictable, but it is also a place of endless possibilities. And as long as we continue to explore, learn, and prepare, we can face the future with both caution and optimism. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most extreme scenarios imaginable. Stay curious and don't forget to subscribe for more explorations of the unknown.